So hi, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can live by your authentic self. You see, you most likely hear this term to just be you, to be authentic, to be free. But it gets very difficult for one reason. And in this video, I will give you 4 practical tips and 2 mindset shifts you need to basically to become authentic, to live an authentic self. So let's talk about how it became difficult for the average person to live authentically. When we were young, we did not care. We wanted to express ourselves. And society saw us as kids who did not know what they were doing and then allowed us to express ourselves. But as time went on, we kept on having these beliefs and values in our head, things that we should do, things that we shouldn't do, morals that were created so that everyone can be coherent, everyone can understand everyone, so that everyone can be relatable. So we created this persona, we created morals, we created values for everyone to follow by. But sometimes those things are conflicting to who we are truly. So these morals or values don't care about the individual. It's just for the societal standard. So what happens? When somebody steps out of that morals or values created by society, he is seen as being different. He is seen as something is wrong somewhere. So that's one aspect. The other aspect, the major cause of people not wanting to live by their authentic self is shame, negative emotions felt when they feel like they feel a shame, they feel a sense of rejection, they feel a sense of guilt that if I live by my authentic self, people may not be there for me anymore. If I live by my authentic self, society will judge me wrong. So, and it all boils down to shame, literally. A pure mind, someone who has a very pure mind, would know what he is to do. But when somebody has a conditioned mind, because, like I said, society does not mean condition you, it doesn't mean to condition you. It just wants everyone to be coherent and live by a set of moral and value. And the worst part is, these guys who created this version or these morals or values are actually not smarter than you. The key word there is for everybody to fit into a nice box. It's a way of peace. They are silent contracts. So, but a conditioned mind thinks in a way of what should I do, not what do I want to do. So, and that is the true basis of freedom, that you can live by yourself, knowing fully well that you know you know what you want to do, not what society wants you to do. So let's talk about the tips. The summary of all of the tips is just one thing. We need to look at ourselves carefully for us to know what our authentic self is, what our true nature is. And to look inwards, the first step you must take is actually I would say you need to do it alone. It's called the solitude. You need to look inward by yourself. You need to do this alone because most people, like I said, are being distracted by a lot of things. One, two is, mind you, the only reason that you are stopping yourself from living authentically is because of society. So if you want to find your authentic self, you really cannot do it with with yourself thinking in the midst of society. So you need solitude, you need to separate yourself. There are people who use therapies to know their authentic self. The only issue I have with that is most therapists actually do not live their own authentic self. The irony is, we all know that we should live in an authentic manner, but for some very, very strange reasons, we know what to do, but we don't do it because of the stories in our head. So the first step at all is to separate yourself from everything, from everyone, from societal standards. Go on an adventure. Seek, self-reflect on the times in your life where you felt most alive, where you felt deeply alive. Say yes to those things that you really enjoy, things that give you meaning. But a quick caution here is, when people say just be you or be authentic, it does not mean you should be lazy because it takes effort to become authentic, to know what you want and to go after it. It is not the same thing as being lazy. Being lazy is you not just being what you want to be at all, at any cost, not ready to sacrifice anything. So when you seek the state of solitude, you should know that no price is too high, because literally living by yourself is the actual freedom. Is the actual freedom, freedom of guilt, freedom of shame, freedom of rejection. That is where all freedom starts. Very financial freedom. There are people who have financial freedom but cannot live by themselves. There are people who have location freedom but yet still don't live authentically. They still feel like they are conditioned by society. A second practical tip is social media algorithm. Look at your YouTube history. Because when people say things like social media is trying to addict us, well, which is a bad thing, a good part is you can use it to look at yourself carefully and ask, when I'm not working, when I'm randomly scrolling through social media, what are the things that I really, really love to look at? I mean, also, if you remove just random entertainment like cat videos, oh, people love cat videos, though they may be cat fans. What are those things that I watch? Look at your YouTube history. Look at your Instagram Explore page, your TikTok For You page. You get to find aspects of your life that's deep down. And it would be better if these things are not things that you kind of like express most of the time. There are things that you really enjoy, but for some strange reasons, because you have to suppress your authentic self, you also have to suppress this part of you that I'm referring to, that you should go and check in your social media algorithm, in your history. Like I said, it tells you a lot about you. And also, why this is true is because whenever you ask people about the things that they enjoy that are authentic to them, they try to think about it. But the problem is, the aspect of the brain that handles the thinking is somewhat disconnected with the part of the brain that is authentic, is more, has more to do with emotions, has more to do with feeling. It makes us alive. So it's more of a feeling than a thing that you can actually think about. So the third tip is, do not judge anybody. Now, this idea of judging is super important, and this is something that I discovered late in my life. Where in my uni days, there's this guy I used to judge for watching anime. So I'm basically reflecting back. And then I discovered that he never cared. He enjoyed his anime. And as we speak, he's currently in Japan doing some anime stuff. Because that's somebody who early in life found out not to actually care. He found his authentic self early on in life. And right now, that's what he's doing. And that is how he's getting paid. Anime. While this is me here, I used to think people who watch anime are kids or people who never grew up. But like I said, one, I never understood anime. And two is, why am I judging somebody who is living authentically? Also, when I tell you not to judge people, if you ever notice people who judge people, they tend to also judge themselves, because when you actually step out to judge somebody, there's a high chance you are judging something in yourself that you see in somebody else. Self-reflect on that. Don't judge anyone. And you should not want to make people live by your own standards. I discovered this recently with my junior brother. Yeah, you may hate me for this, but he smokes. And then I used to tell him to stop smoking, but at least pick a goal. I used to want to give him my ideal version of what he should be, until he lashed out one day and said, no, he's not going to do that. And ever since that time, I had this understanding that I want the best for him, but he too also wants the best for himself. So I should not actually put him through things that he doesn't want to be through. I shouldn't want to impose myself on him. And that was a very huge lesson. Ever since, I let him be. And then I never talk about his smoking. We are brothers, we are close. He can do whatever he wants to do. I'll still show that elderly brother respect regardless. If he comes to me for advice, I'll give him advice that's applicable to him. However, I should not want to mold him to be what I am. Maybe along the lines, he may pick up whatever he sees to be more authentic to himself. But like I said, don't judge people. And this point leads to another crucial point, is that people do not think about you. actually. And this is something that, like I said, we suppress our authentic self because we assume that people will reject us. First of all, we have already rejected ourselves. So whenever we think that people are thinking about us, we tend to act in a funny manner. We tend to act in a manner that is perfect. We tend to act in a manner that society understands, that has morals, accepted beliefs, accepted values. So yeah, in such situations, we tend to act, like I said, accordingly. We want to act in line. But when you know that people do not really care about you, they might say something in the moment that makes it sound like they are thinking about you. In reality, they are not. You think about it. Think about the most outlandish thing you have done in your entire life. And you get to realize that, or humiliating stuff rather, you get to realize that you felt humiliated quite alright. But after a week, a couple of days, all of those things went away. Those things did not really bother you anymore, or did not bother people anymore. They most likely forgot. Because people have their own problems, and their problems occupy their head so much that they literally do not care about you. And if you really understand this is why I said you shouldn't judge people, because when you don't judge people, you get to realize that you don't have that spotlight on people. You have the spotlight more on yourself. And when you have the spotlight more on yourself, you get to realize that other people too have their own spotlight on themselves. And having these two ideas of not judging people and also knowing that people don't care about you, not think about you rather, is you get to realize that everybody is odd. Everybody has their weaknesses, everybody has their flaws. You should embrace yours and actually go with it. There is not a single soul who is perfect, not even the billionaires. I was talking about Elon Musk the other day, how he signed a contract that he heavily regretted, the point where he's actually spending hundreds of millions of dollars just as a way of getting back. Now, I don't want to go into details about that, but to show you that, regardless, yes, I believe that if you go competent in one area, that competence can extend to other areas. But yes, there's a limit to what we can do. Then the fifth tip, which is a mindset shift, is to reflect on death. At some point, everybody is going to die. Every single soul. You cannot dodge it. When you begin to embrace death, you begin to think different. Instead of realizing that, instead of seeing yourself as growing older, see yourself as getting closer to your grave. The harsh truth that people don't want to understand is they have this idea that other people will die. But when you take the spotlight on you and you know that your time is actually limited, if you're in your 20s, look at how fast you came into your 20s. Look at how fast you came in to where you are at this point in time. Time will keep moving, whether you adapt or not. And I had this quote, this story from Steve Jobs, where he said, every single day in his life, he will look into the mirror and say, if this was the last day of my life, would I do something? Will I do what I'm about to do today? And if the answer was no for a couple of periods of time, you'll get to realize that you shouldn't do it. And that is actually a very powerful way to live authentically, because you're going to die someday, you're already naked. So what's the point? What's the worst that would happen? Literally. So it's best to live authentically, knowing that you have limited time, knowing that no one's going to think about you. And the last and the most important is actually the most important tip in this, is which summarizes everything, is the subtle art of not giving a fuck by Mark Manson. When you read that book, you get to realize that everything in life is fleeting. That if you actually get to look at what you should focus on or what you should give a fuck about, you literally will not care about what others think. Now, society wants you to give a fuck about everything. I mean, that's why the news has irrelevant stories. I'm sorry. You see stories of people dying every day in other parts of the world. I'm sorry. It's not your business. I'm not trying to be unsympathetic here, but For you, what can you do to stop that death? If you can, please do. But however, in most cases, in most of the stories that happen on the news, that's the keyword, on the news, for 99% of those stories, one, you can't do anything about it. Two, I mean, even though you could prevent such situations in the future, it's probably like 1 or 2% you can help reduce. Which, if you can help reduce the suffering in the world, I applaud you. Go ahead. But except you are maybe the president of the United States of America, 99% of the things that are happening on the news, you cannot prevent, you cannot stop. I mean, even if you remove like the news, you hear all of this social justice movement telling you to care about their movements, talking about how every 5 minutes this thing happens to this group of people. Well, what do you want me to do? If I can donate to the cause, I will donate to the cause. Apart from that, what else do you want me to do? So, in some of this, instead of spreading your energy too thin on different things, why don't you pick a couple of things that really matter to you? This could be family, business, friendship, relationships, and everything. Just the very few things that you know your life will be miserable without. Those are the things that you should actually give a fuck about. That's the summary of it all. So if you can have this mindset, just to recap this. One, you need to do this thing alone. You can't do it with anybody. You can't distract yourself. You have to find your authentic self by yourself. The second tip here is use your social media history to know the things you're really happy about that makes you feel alive when nobody is there or when societal pressures are not there. Your third tip is to not judge people, because when you judge people, there's a high chance you too will feel judged. It tells you more about you. Three is you should know that people are not thinking about you as much as you think they are. The last point is if fear of death and knowing that someday you're going to die. And the last and sixth point is you don't really need to give a fuck. Yep. Thank you very much. Can I share my video with somebody who knows that society right now is on a decline, and this person sees the need to make men responsible? So share my video with them. Let's come together. Let's find ideas on how we ourselves can become responsible to take care of ourselves and for those around us. Hopefully, that will help to ease the suffering and the declining part of the world so we can live much more authentically. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon, and bye for now.